cross divides, and they give hope and joy. And today we're joined by exemplars from across civil society who are leading that transformative, essential work day in, day out. People like Benefa Bandari, the Chief Executive of Hopscotch Women's Centre, which has saved the lives of women and children by helping them escape abuse in no less than 27 different languages. People like Brian Dow at Mental Health UK, whose organisation every day is providing pathways out to people who don't think they can go on. And people like Lisa Stepanovic of Social Arc, who is giving talented young people a chance to build their own social businesses. Now, these are three disparate organisations. These are three different focuses, but two phenomenal qualities in common. Their ability to build strong relationships and to harness trust. Local community-led organisations reach the parts of society that others simply cannot do as successfully. And I have seen this throughout my life. Growing up above a small family business on a Fenland high street that was run like a social enterprise and where the principles of service and volunteering and fundraising were ingrained in me, I have seen the immense contribution of people giving their time to support young people as Chief Executive of the Scouts and alongside Catherine Johnston as co-founder of the Big Help Out. I've seen the extraordinary impact of dozens of small, vital community organisations over the last year in my current role, who are reaching diverse communities. Relationships and trust. It's what makes our sector so special and is part of what Andy Haldane, the former chief economist at the Bank of England, calculates is our sector's £200 billion value to the economy. But I have also seen that the full power of civil society can only be unlocked if it works as part of a system where the state and purpose-driven business work in partnership with community organisations. And therefore, as a funder at the nexus of civil society, funded by the UK's largest retail bank with 27 million customers, but also with strong relationships with government, I've seen this and we live it. And it's due to this unique vantage point that Lloyds Bank Foundation was so keen to support today. And we now embark on our next 40 years as a foundation with a renewed purpose to connect and catalyse community-led change. And we want to ensure that everyone in our country is in a good place, that they're personally in a good place, that they live in a good place, that they can call their home, and that their community is a good place to belong to. Now, with that in mind, I wanted to say three things to tee up the rest of the day. Firstly, on the covenant itself, which I am delighted has been launched today, and which you'll hear more shortly about shortly. There will be some, maybe, who don't agree with every word of the covenant, or who may have wanted the document to have gone further. And I would simply say this: let's not let perfection be the enemy of good. A covenant sets out principles. It's a commitment to partnership and a launch pad. It lays the foundations we can all build upon. So my own view would be we should ask ourselves, having laid these foundations, what can we now build together? So let me move on to my second point, which is why this matters today. We are at an inflection point as a country. If we combine 17 years of limited economic growth with an ageing population, then no matter what your fiscal rules are, you have immense constraints on public sector spending. Put that in the context of our society. We've seen a loss of faith in orthodox party politics, a loss of trust, a loss of hope that things can get better for current generations, and even less hope that it will for future generations. And it's against that backdrop that my belief is that there is an imbalance between the state, the market, and civil society. That if we carry on as we are, we will not meet the moment, either now or in the decades to come, unless we embrace the prize that is on offer today, where effective cross-sector partnership working can realise the full potential of civil society to drive further health creation, skills development and economic growth. And if you just look at health, and I'm sure you're going to hear this from the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care later, the NHS is pushing towards half of all state spending, and we have to shift care from hospitals to local communities and embrace a neighbourhood health service. But it can only be done sustainably if we unleash the power of community organisations, social enterprises and specialist charities of all sizes, as well as encouraging acts of kindness, such as volunteering, to reduce loneliness and support long-term care needs. The market can't reach all corners, and the state's firepower is constrained. No single organisation or sector can solve these problems and challenges. But our communities are filled with hopeful, determined, resilient people making the lives of their neighbours better. Remember what we saw in COVID, a nation of neighbours supporting each other, with businesses enabling volunteering, the state partnering with community leaders and mutual aid groups. As a country, we showed the best version of ourselves, and that gives us a template for what an unbridled civil society could look like. And that is the prize that is on offer today. And I know how tough it is for many of the organisations in this room and out there across the UK as well, particularly small community organisations and charities of all sizes. And that's why we can't tinker around the edges, which brings me to my last point. While recognising the constraint on the public purse, we need a new approach to public sector delivery with an improved commissioning environment. That is not about saving charities or protecting them for their own sake. It's about delivering the best possible outcomes for the people that we all serve. And that also means embracing new forms of financing. Hence why the work on the impact economy is so important. Driving sustainable solutions and resilience by embracing innovation and turbocharging philanthropy. Now is the moment to invest in this new way of working, empowering our neighbourhoods and communities, using the underpinning of the covenant to its fullest, undertaking a concerted effort to recover trust in democracy and deliver economic growth. And we simply can't waste this opportunity. Today is the start of ensuring a stronger civil society that plays a more profound and consistent role in our country for everyone's benefit. This is the positive vision of the future that I think we should seek, a nation of neighbours, where people are in a good place and supported by a strong civil society. And we are here to play our part in that as a foundation. And I know the government is also, which is why it's such a pleasure to welcome to the stage the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, Lisa Nandy.
Amazing. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. I am really proud to be here with you all today to launch the Covenant, which for the Minister for Civil Society, Stephanie Peacock, and myself, is not just a document. It is a new chapter in the relationship between this government and the remarkable civil society organisations that form the backbone of our communities. And for me, it's personal. 20 years ago, when I was working in the voluntary sector, there was a young minister who was appointed to Gordon Brown's government, Ed Miliband. He established the first ever compact with civil society, recognising the power of civil society and government working together to deliver change. For a young person working in the voluntary sector, it was magic, not just to have that recognition, but to be able to then go on to work together for children and young people and together help to transform lives. And our government was elected on exactly that mandate, to deliver change. We make no apology for the scale of our ambition, but ambition alone is not enough. To transform the country, we know we must be willing to do things differently and to do them together. We haven't wasted a minute. We put young people in the driving seat of our National Youth Strategy, which has brought together nearly 20,000 young people and handed them the power to grip the challenges facing a generation. I learnt everything that I know about politics from young people. It was an inspirational group of young people that I worked with at the youth homeless charity Centrepoint more than 2 decades ago, who taught me that for all of the challenges they faced in their lives, they knew better than anyone what needed to change, and more often than not, they knew better than we did how to achieve it. Where the government saw problems, they saw the potential in their own lives. And they taught me a lesson that I've carried with me ever since, that the government cannot build a better future and deliver on the missions alone. It takes a nation. The story of our country is exactly that. It's the story of ordinary people who come together to do extraordinary things. And we really believe, as a government, that when you hand power to people who have skin in the game and a stake in the outcome, they build a country that works. Now, I know it's been a really difficult decade for many civil society organisations. Many of you in this room have been asked to do more with less funding, less recognition, and less power. Funding is reduced, need has soared, and the right to speak up on behalf of those that you work with and represent has been routinely challenged. And all at a time when we've become more fractured, more fragmented, and more divided than ever. At times I feel we've lost the ability to understand one another. It's cost us time and energy at a moment that could have been spent rebuilding our country and changing lives. And if we're serious about a decade of national renewal, then civil society must be heard, not just at the margins, but at the heart of decision-making. You have a powerful voice on behalf of some of the most marginalised and discriminated against people in this country who belong and have a contribution to make to the future of our nation. That voice must be heard in the rooms where decisions are made, and it's only by working together that we'll build that self-confident nation where everybody's contribution is seen and valued, and every person, no matter what their background or where they live in this country, has the chance to live the richer, larger and dignified lives that they deserve. We know that so many of those decisions take place not in Whitehall, but in the Town Hall, and that's why I'm particularly delighted to be announcing today a new local covenant partnerships programme to ensure that power is shared with communities across our nation. Because for all of the challenges facing our country, and there are many, everywhere I go, I see the spirit of civil society in action, and I feel the ambition that exists in people everywhere. It's time for us to match it, to unlock Britain's potential, and to turn to face the future. Now, there's one person in our government who has always understood this. 20 years ago, I was working with trafficked children at the Children's Society. So often, those children were just not seen. They were treated as criminals, not victims of crime. We approached everyone in authority for help. We would not rest until we'd got those children the respect and support that they deserved. And there was one person who answered that call. He rewrote the prosecution guidance so that those children were seen for what they were, vulnerable children who needed and deserved our help and our respect. This is someone who has always understood and respected the indispensable and unique, distinct role that civil society has to play in our country, and I cannot think of anyone better to restore our partnership with civil society than my friend and our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
Fantastic. Great speech.
Thank you
Really,
so much.
it's such a good event.
No, it's great. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And when she said she wasn't going to let it lie when I met her all those years ago, she was absolutely right about that. And the passion and energy, Lisa, that you bring to this. I think speaks volumes, and everybody in this room can tell how much it means to you. And it is fantastic to be with you all as I look around, seeing many friends and colleagues. Great to be here as well at the Science Museum, which I have to say feels like a fitting place to be today, because this is the home of innovation, celebrating the progress that's transformed so many people's lives, and in a way speaking to us, calling us, and inspiring us to do the same today. Now, as many of you in this room will remember, about, I think it was 18 or so months ago, back in opposition, in a church near Waterloo Station, I made a promise to people in this room. I said that if Labour was elected to govern, we would work in partnership with you to deliver on every one of our missions and change the country together. I meant that back then. And the moment I walked through the door of Downing Street, our work began. And that door is now wide open to you. And today's summit is the first of its kind ever. And that's really important. That's really important. Because this is about delivering the priorities of working people. But it's also about something, in a sense, even more fundamental than that. Because I often say that the changes we're making aren't just about sort of lines on a graph and statistics. They're about people. And you understand that better than anyone else. Take the Drive Partnership. Now, this is a fantastic initiative led by a coalition of civil society organisations. Now, they've worked with the police to tackle the drivers of domestic abuse, a really serious issue, hard to deal with. And that is integral to the work that we're doing in government in our Safer Streets mission. So today, working together in the spirit of partnership, we're announcing £53 million of investment to roll out the Drive project nationally right across England and Wales, delivering together in partnership, taking up the initiative that you've brought to us and recognising your power to reach into places that governments can't, combined with the ability of the government to deliver nationally. Now, for me, that's a blueprint of a brand new way of working. And today we take one further step with our civil society covenant. And I'm really proud that we're launching that today, because that is really the hard yards of the 18 months since I made the promise, because it recognises that national renewal requires everyone to play a vital role. Not the hierarchical sort of top-down approach of the state working on its own. Not the transactional approach of the markets left to their own devices. But a way forward in partnership together, giving civil society a home at the heart of government. So we're not going to shut charities out and then expect you to pick up the bits. That's what the Tories did for year after year after year. Nor am I interested in slogans that sound very good, but end up being gimmicks for government to simply hide behind. I'm interested in solutions. So we're working with businesses, social enterprises, private investors, and with the Chancellor's announcement just earlier this week, which you'll have seen, the largest social outcomes fund in the world to give struggling families a better start, backed by £500 million in government funding, with plans to match this with up to £500 million more from local governments, from social investors, philanthropists, transforming hundreds of thousands of lives together. That is about genuine partnership, putting your fingerprints on everything that we do. Take our 10-year plan for the NHS, which we announced earlier this month. It's a really important initiative. We look back proudly at the NHS. It's been around for 77 years, but we also need to make sure that in decades to come, people look back and recognise the NHS was rebuilt and fit for the future. And in that 10-year plan, we consulted experts, charities, and the public. So every person, no matter who they were or where they're from, can get the treatment that they deserve. Look at the incredible work of charities already. Day in, day out, on the front line, delivering real change where it's needed most. So I'm proud to announce an exciting new partnership between government and civil society today. Diagnosis Connect. Now, this will transform the way we work together. Now, this is a new programme linking newly diagnosed patients directly to expert charities, helping them navigate which charities they can get to, which support they want, a different journey for each of them. Very hard to make that journey at the moment. And that's life-changing for people, looking for information and support, often at a really difficult time. Now, that's putting your expertise directly in people's pockets with the NHS app. So that's going to go on the NHS app, which is a central part of our plan, and then people will have it as their map to the support to the charities that they need when they've been diagnosed. What a comfort and security that will be for so many millions of people. But I believe that good relationships need to be honest relationships. We won't blindside you with public attacks like the last government did. We need to do honest about the issues that people care about and expect us to tackle. Have the tough conversations on issues like migration or social cohesion, our security as a country. These are issues where politicians have often chosen to stoke division instead of bringing people together to fix the problem. Now, we know the damage that does to our communities. So when it comes to issues like immigration, we are working differently, strengthening our border security and tackling fraud, working with 72 local organisations as we transition people to a digital immigration status to make sure vulnerable communities aren't shut out of that transition, and working with community groups to train young people in the skills that we need, to reduce our dependence on overseas recruitment. Together, we'll build stronger communities, a fairer system, a better society for everyone. And most of all this is about rebalancing power and responsibility. Because I remember, and I suspect you do, when the Tories said that people were tired of experts. Let me tell you what I think people are tired of. I think they're tired of establishment figures who don't listen to them, who don't understand the challenges that they face, tired of being excluded from decisions about their own lives, tired of being treated like their experiences don't matter. And they're the people this government is working for. Something I often talk about is the people I have in my mind's eye, because politics is about policies, it is about numbers and statistics, but most important, in a sense, it's about who do you have in your mind's eye when you make your decision. And I think of the people up and down the country who serve every day, who put in every day, often unseen, but absolutely irreplaceable. So this is an opportunity to say to each and every one of you, and through you to your organisations, thank you. Thank you for what you put in on behalf of others. To those of you that I know work tirelessly to make Britain a better place. And to say that we're keeping our promises. We said we would work differently, and we are. We promised we would listen to you, and we have. Those initiatives we're announcing today, they came from you, not us. We put them into something which works in partnership. We said we'd deliver together, and we will, to build a society of service, bound together by our common values, and finding new pride in our country and our communities. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for everything you're doing. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister. What a brilliant way to kick off our day. I tell you something, it was a really, really, really particularly good news story for us to hear about the investment into the Drive partnership, because that started out as £1 million investment from Lloyds Bank Foundation alongside people